Next, the curious case of James Craig, a tale of poison. In a suburb of Denver called Aurora, Colorado, where the dental drills hum and protein shakes are a morning ritual, a sinister plot unraveled that could rival the most twisted crime novel. At the center of this saga is James Tolliver Craig, a dentist with a panache for risky ventures, both financial and, as it turns out, felonious. Detective Bobby Olson, a seasoned sleuth in the Aurora Police Department, Major's Crime Homicide Unit, penned an affidavit that read like a script for a thriller, complete with poison, betrayal, and a side of arson. So, James Craig, a 45-year-old blonde, blue-eyed dentist, was no stranger to trouble. His dental practice, Summerbrook Dental Group, was teetering on the edge of financial ruin, much like his marriage to Angela Craig. By March of 2023, the couple's relationship was a battlefield, with James admitting to marital woes and even requesting a divorce in December of 2022. But instead of couples therapy, James seemed to have a more permanent solution in mind. So on March 15th, 2023, Angela Craig, a 43-year-old mother, stumbled into the university hospital with a headache, dizziness so severe it could make a carousel jealous. Accompanied by her brother Mark, she was soon joined by James, who played the part of the concerned husband, tears and all. But as Angela's condition plummeted, culminating in a seizure and life support, suspicions arose. Enter Ryan Redfern, James' business partner and dental school chum, who dropped a bombshell. James had recently ordered potassium cyanide, a substance about as useful in dentistry as a sledgehammer in a root canal. So, Detective Olson, with her sharp instincts and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, dug into the case. The investigation revealed a chilling sequence of events. On February 27th, 2023, James created a clandestine Gmail account, jimandwaffles@gmail.com, used exclusively in the shadowy confines of exam room number 9 at his dental office. This wasn't for sending cute cat memes. James was Googling how many grams of pure arsenic will kill a human, and is arsenic detectable in an autopsy? He even watched YouTube videos like Top 5 Undetectable Poisons that show no signs of foul play. Subtlety apparently was not his forte. Now, by March 4th, James had ordered 10 grams of the crystalline arsenic from Amazon, delivered to his home like a grim Amazon Prime package. 2 days later, Angela was hospitalized with symptoms eerily matching arsenic poisoning: dizziness, nausea, and a head that felt funny. As Angela yo-yoed between hospitals, James ordered potassium cyanide from Midland Scientific, claiming it was a craniofacial reconstruction. The only reconstruction here, however, was James' attempt to rebuild his life, sends Angela. The cyanide arrived on March 13th, despite James' explicit instruction to his office manager, Caitlin Romero, not to open the personal package. Naturally, an employee named Caddy Van Horn did just that, revealing a canister labeled potassium cyanide with a biohazard sticker. Caitlin, no slouch herself, connected the dots when Angela's symptoms flared again, landing her in the ICU by March 15th. By March 18th, Angela was pronounced brain dead, her symptoms a grim checklist of cyanide and arsenic poisoning, straight from the CDC's greatest hits. Now, just when you thought the tale couldn't get wilder, James upped the ante. While awaiting trial for first-degree murder, after deliberation, new charges emerged like a plot twist was in a soap opera. James, apparently not content with poisoning his wife, allegedly attempted to eliminate the lead detective, Bobby Olson herself. The lead investigator, who had meticulously unraveled the scheme, became the target of a murder plot, and court records allege that James tried to orchestrate an attack on Olson, perhaps hoping to silence the detective who was too good at her job. The specifics are murky, but think clandestine jailhouse whispers. But the charge of attempted murder was added to James' growing rap sheet, proving he was as bold as he was reckless. And then we get a little fiery fiasco, if that wasn't enough. James' attorney, we'll refer to him as former attorney, found himself in a little hot water, literally, in a move that can only be described as cinematic. The counsel, Mr. Working, was forced to withdraw because he was charged for attempting to burned down his marital home with his co-counsel, his wife, Lisa Moses, who's trying this case. And this case is starting. It's still not being streamed. It's even blocked. We checked it just before this. In fact, the court was doing another hearing this morning unrelated to this case. So we were hoping to bring you this trial, but they're not streaming it. And I don't know if the court is blocking it, but I'll try to find out and get you the answers. If we can't bring it directly to you, maybe we can give you the link and you can go watch it for yourself. So yes, things cannot get any more bizarre in this particular case, but it's going to be a good Lifetime movie, I'm sure. So this shows a web of deceit, and James' actions paint a portrait of a man's desperate attempt to escape his crumbling world, his secret email account, his affair with Karen Kane, who jetted into Denver while Angela was laying in a bed dying, and his purchase of arsenic, cyanide, and other chemicals screamed premeditation louder than a dental drill. His claims of Angela's suicidal tendencies were met with skepticism. Her children and sister, Tony, saw no signs of depression, only a tumultuous marriage marked by James' infidelity and financial missteps. Now, Detective Olson's affidavit, a 30-page opus of investigative prowess, laid bare James' calculated moves, from the protein shakes he lovingly prepared for Angela to the surveillance cameras at home that mysteriously lacked accessible footage. Every detail pointed to a man playing a deadly game of chicken, as he himself described it to Ryan. The evidence was overwhelming. Search histories, intercepted packages, and a trail of lies that even a master storyteller couldn't spin into innocence. The moral? Well, crime doesn't pay, but it sure makes for a great story. So, as James Tolliver Craig sits in custody facing charges of first-degree murder and now attempted murder of a detective, his tale serves as a cautionary one. Aurora, Colorado may never look at protein shakes the same way again. Detective Olson, undeterred by threats, stand as the hero of this sordid saga. Her affidavit, a testament to dogged determination, and as his new counsel, they've learned that setting fires, literally and figuratively, rarely ends well. In the end, this is a story of ambition gone awry, of a man who thought he could outsmart toxicology and the law, only to find himself ensnared in his own little web. So next time you sip a protein shake or visit the dentist, spare a thought for Angela Craig and the detective who brought her justice. And maybe, just maybe, check the ingredients. And although Mr. Craig has not been convicted yet, we'll give him the presumption of innocence. His counsel, very learned, Lisa Moses, you never know. She could pull it out. We'll have to wait and see. So we'll give him the presumption of innocence. Divided paths to justice, right? The Idaho victims' families, well, they grapple with the Kohberger plea. So obviously in the aftermath of Bryan Kohberger's guilty plea, I wouldn't say unexpected, because, well, I called it months ago that they would be groveling for a guilty plea for anything to take death off the table. Anyway, that plea came on July 2nd for the 4 murders of the University of Idaho students, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. And the families of the victims are having navigated a complex landscape of grief, relief, and frustration. Now, this plea, which spares Kohberger the death penalty in exchange for 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, has elicited some sharply divided responses, underscoring the varied paths of healing nearly 3 years after the tragic events of November 13th of 2022. Now, the Chapin family, parents of Ethan Chapin, have expressed a sense of unexpected peace with the resolution, viewing it as an opportunity to move forward without the prolonged anguish of a trial. Stacy Chapin, Ethan's mother, described the plea deal as truly a blessing, emphasizing how it alleviates the burden on her surviving children, Ethan's triplets, who were subpoenaed as witnesses. Now, she highlighted the family's determination to protect her kids, allowing them to lead normal lives despite the profound loss. and noted their recent graduation from the University of Idaho as a testament to their resilience. Now, Jim and Stacy Chapin in interviews have focused on positive memorials to Ethan, such as the Ethan Smile Foundation, which is awarded 86 scholarships totaling $105,000 to honor his memory and support education. Stacy reflected on Ethan's love for Priest Lake in northern Idaho, a family haven where a bench now bears his name overlooking the volleyball court he cherished, symbolizing their commitment to channeling grief into constructive remembrance. Now, for the Chapins, avoiding a trial means sparing not only their family, but also other students and community members from reliving the trauma, enabling them to just all get to go on with their life. Now, in stark contrast, the Gonzalez family, parents of Kaylee Gonzalez, have voiced deep disappointment and anger over the plea agreement, feeling it denies them full accountability and closure. Now, Steve Gonzalez, Kaylee's father, criticized the deal harshly, stating it allows Kohberger to avoid the death penalty without sufficient explanation of his actions, and lamented that Idaho has failed his family by proceeding without their input. Now, the family issued a statement shortly after the plea, noting Kohberger's one-word response in court as insufficient acknowledgement of responsibility, and expressed frustration that the arrangement circumvents a public trial where motives and details could be thoroughly examined. Now, the sentiment reflects their ongoing quest for justice, amplified by the belief that the plea undermines the gravity of the loss that they endure daily. Similarly, Jeff Kernodle, father of Xana, has shared his disappointment with the prosecutor's decision, describing it as a surprise that deprived the families of a comprehensive reckoning. The Kernodles, like the Gonzalez, have grappled with the absence of a trial, which they anticipated as a platform to confront Kohberger's actions and seek some deeper understanding of the tragedy that claimed Xana's life alongside her boyfriend, Ethan. Now, these divergent reactions highlight the profound individuality of grief among the victim's family, even as they unite in mourning the young lives cut so short. While some find solace in closure and forward momentum, others contend with unresolved questions and perceived shortfalls in judicial rigor. As Kohberger's sentencing approaches on July 23rd, the families continue to embody resilience, each forging their own narrative of remembrance amid enduring sorrow. I could not imagine losing a child, let alone through some senseless killing like this. But either way, all of the families are going to have to deal with this on their own. Now, the judge did issue an order yesterday, basically denying the request for the press to have their own photographers in the courtroom. He said, nope, don't worry about it. I got it handled. It will be streamed on our YouTube channel, and we will bring it to you live on the 23rd. Next, Bryan Kohberger. That's right. The old Papa Rogers issue comes back again. And will that gag order, if it's lifted, unmask the mystery? So, a shadowy Facebook figure dubbed Papa Roger popped up in late 2022, haunting an Idaho student murder discussion group with cryptic posts, only to vanish like a ghost when Bryan Kohberger was arrested on December 30th. Coincidence? Well, the internet's got its theories, and the looming end of a gag order might just let us know what's really going on. Now, the digital phantom surfaced in a Facebook group hell-bent on justice for the University of Idaho students that were killed: Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Now, sporting a profile pic of a guy in a retro military getup, eerily Kohberger-esque, some say, Papa Rogers dropped posts about a knife sheath before cops confirmed one was found at the scene. Interesting, right? Well, no official word ties Kohberger to this account, but with the gag order about to take a hike, we might get some answers. Think unsealed warrants, juicy discovery disclosures, or digital breadcrumbs from Bryan Kohberger's devices. At the very least, we might see warrant requests for social media accounts. We're going to have to wait and see. This could be big. Now, court records show cops went fishing at Amazon, Google, and Meta but what they reeled in remains a mystery. Now, Papa Rogers' posts, now mostly wiped from the web, include eerie specifics like predicting a knife sheath on November 30th of 2022. He didn't say a sheath, he said a sheath, said Christine Cameron, a group admin, raising an eyebrow. The account also shared diagrams of the crime scene, claiming to pinpoint the victims' bodies. Spoiler, prosecutors later said those were off, with Ethan Chapin killed in Xana's room, not the living room as Papa Rogers claimed. And then on December 22nd, the account boldly declared the killer wasn't in the victim's circle or a student. Nailed it. Kohberger, a Washington State University grad student, wasn't buddies with the victims. Now, but by January 5th of 2023, the account's posts were wiped from Facebook after some heated exchange with Papa Rogers, taunting users to fight me and grading comments like a smug professor. Now, theories swirl that Kohberger himself was behind the account, especially since no one claimed it the 3 years that it's been locked up. Now, theories swirl that Kohberger himself was behind the account, especially since no one's claimed it in the 3 years since he's been locked up. Now, we could speculate that Papa Rogers is Bryan Kohberger, who's obviously, who wouldn't think so if he'd been following the case. Adding fuel, there's a new book by James Patterson and Vicky Ward, and it draws parallels between Kohberger and Elliot Rogers, the 2014 UC Santa Barbara killer. Both loners, both into the night drives and gun ranges, both failing at bar pickup lines. Rogers, an incel who ranted in a manifesto, targeted Greek life students like all of the Kohberger victims. Now, Kohberger, who's obviously pled guilty to the murders on July 1st, stayed mum on his motive, leaving some victims' families fuming. Unlike Roger, who ended his spree with suicide, Kohberger nearly pulled off the perfect crime until DNA from that pesky knife sheath led the FBI to him via genetic genealogy. 11 days later, he was cuffed. Now, his plea deal dodged the death penalty, setting him up for 4 life sentences plus 10 years at a July 23rd sentencing date. No appeals, no takebacks, no do-overs, no nothing. A hearing on lifting that gag order is set for tomorrow. Could it finally unmask Papa Rogers and a lot more mysteries? We're going to find out tomorrow.
Yes, Judge Hippler tossed the gag order in the Bryan Kohberger case. So let's get this straight. The cat's out of the bag, or rather the gag's off the case. So on Thursday, Judge Hippler gave a hearty wave goodbye to a sweeping gag order in the Bryan Kohberger quadruple murder saga, freeing tongues to wag about the gruesome 2022 stabbing deaths of the 4 Idaho students. Now, Kohberger, who dodged a date with the death penalty by pleading guilty earlier this month, admitted to turning a cozy off-campus rental into a horror scene. And with no trial on the horizon, a posse of news outlets, including the Associated Press, rode into court demanding the gag order be sent to the gallows. Judge Hippler, perched in the 4th District courtroom, agreed, tipping his hat in favor of the First Amendment. He said, "The public's right to know is the belle of this ball," he declared, noting that the original goal of keeping jurors impartial was now as relevant as a flip phone in 2025. The jury's not coming, so the gag orders got to go. Now, Kohberger's defense team, however, wasn't exactly popping champagne. They fretted that lifting the order would unleash a media circus, potentially mucking up the sentencing process. Judge Hippler, unfazed, shrugged and said, "The media's already in a frenzy. Might as well let the clowns keep juggling." He clarified that lifting the order doesn't force anyone to spill the beans, so the defense can still play coy if they choose to do so. Meanwhile, the media coalition, not content with just ungagging the case, pushed to unseal a treasure trove of court documents, and Hippler, ever the cautious cowboy, promised to sift through the papers, but warned, "Hold your horses. This will wait until sentencing is done." For those needing a refresher, Kohberger confessed to slipping into the victim's home through a sliding door, turning a quiet night into a nightmare. Prosecutors painted him as a criminal mastermind, using his Washington State University criminal justice studies to play hide and seek with evidence. Spoiler alert, though, we all know he got caught. And obviously the sentencing is coming up as well. We'll see. The prosecution has already said, and everybody associated with the police have stated that they will not talk to anyone until after sentencing, which is fine. But after sentencing, guess what? We can get the discovery in the case, ladies and gentlemen. And that will show, once we get the discovery, that will show how gruesome these murders actually were.